Hi there and welcome to your free lesson. Again, my name is Karen Campbell, the founder of Awesome Art School. I hope that you enjoy today's free tutorial on drawing this pear, taking a two-dimensional shape and turning it into a three-dimensional object, three-dimensional looking object by using different values. So today is really a value lesson and I hope that you enjoy it. Our first whimsical face, I wanted to just go over something quickly before I moved on to the next portion. I wanted to originally go straight into a realistic face just so you could compare them. But I realized before we did that it was really important to just really hit home the notion of values and the importance of values and making art that looks three-dimensional, not one-dimensional. So this scale that the PDF you can look on in the classroom, this is actually very key. This is more key than I was making it look pretty blasé, but this is actually becomes everything. So what we're really interested in is this, and working within a full scale. So what I said before definitely holds true. Okay, you're gonna want, if you can only pick 5 pencils, you're gonna choose a bold 8, a bold 4, one in the center, a medium light, and a super light, okay? And I want you to have those 5 pencils with you when you're drawing, because it's those 5 different values that you want to put into every drawing and every painting to make your painting and your drawing as rich and three-dimensional as possible. So this is going to be key. And I was looking over my whimsical girl and I realized, you know, we can actually, I like her tones, but she really only has about 3, well, she has 5, but the hardest values, the H's, are really only lines. And if you want to make your painting, your drawing really, really, really good, you're going to really want to make sure that those 5 different values are really representative. Now, of course, you know, within the 5, you're actually making many more than that. And I'm just trying to simplify things for ease. But I really was thinking, you know what, this is really dark. Make them dark. Go ahead and don't be afraid to punch up those values, okay, because that becomes how your eye reads things as being two-dimensional versus three-dimensional, okay? So I was thinking about how to approach drawing the realistic face, and we can definitely go over the features and how they differ from the whimsical face. For example, and I think I mentioned this briefly when we were drawing hers, this is 3 eyeballs wide. In a realistic face, it actually becomes 5. Human eyes in reality are actually tiny. And what makes these whimsical faces so whimsical is usually the eyes, and they're big and they're expressive, and that's what makes them so much fun to draw and what makes them have so much personality. So I will demo how to do a realistic face. This is just a beginner drawing course, so of course I don't think we're gonna hammer home and practice a million realistic faces, but I'm definitely going to show you. But before I show you, I want you to understand what it is you're looking at. Instead of just looking at me drawing, going, oh, huh, cool. I want you to understand what it is I want you to look at. And that goes back to this. Because when I am drawing my faces, my black and white portraits, I do not draw lines as much as I draw in values. Okay, I put a hunk down that's this dark, I put a hunk down that's this light, and then I shade it out until I fade it out until it's this light. And if I don't have lights white enough, I go back in and I erase. So that's really important when you are watching the demo of me doing a realistic face, that you understand that it's those values and the differences in these tones that you want to achieve. And that is everything. Okay, so before we jump into drawing a realistic face, I want to try drawing a realistic pear. I know it seems silly, we just drew a face, but this whole idea of value, and we're going to practice more. We're going to do a face probably in every single module except for number 5 in caustics. But we will always be dealing with value, and value is just the lightness and darkness of either the paints or the drawing materials that you're working with. And this, above all else, is what we want to have mastered in the drawing section before we go ahead into any of the other modules, if you're taking those with me. So this is what I want to do next with you guys before we move on to do faces. I think we need to back it up and do something a little bit more basic. So here is my pear. I bought some fake fruit today because I want to make sure I have lots of organic options for sketching, and it's also good for inspiration and color. Buy different fruits in different colors. It's really great for inspiration. But look at this black and white photo, and I'm gonna give this to you in your PDF too, so you can have the same exact one that I did. But look at this on this scale. So here's my light scale, and look how, I mean, this is white. This is almost as white as the paper. Okay, so that's up here in the 10 zone. Okay, and actually I have two pictures of this. I'm going to actually write the numbers on here. This one's a little bit bigger. I might draw with that one. Alright, so here is like a 10H, right? It's like almost white. And then see how it just fades gradually. Okay? It fades gradually here to here. Okay? All the way down to, look how dark this is. Let's see how dark this is. You know, you're looking all the way to probably in the 8 region. So this is like a 8B, right? And that section goes, this whole section right here. Now I'm not suggesting that you're just going to take your 8B and color here and take your NH, although you actually could. But what you can do, and we did this before when we did our face, which is why I'm happy that we started with our face, is that you can lay down that heavy graphite and then use your blending tool to get some of these lighter values. If you want, that would be a totally legitimate approach. But you see how this is the darkest, then this gets lighter, all the way over here. So, and look, this is like a second dark region, right? And don't be afraid to make an extra copy for yourself and kind of keep track of these different tones. Okay, and there's like another zone. Oop, it kind of bumps out here a little bit, doesn't it? Okay, so this is why having like a full pencil scale is helpful, because you can use it to literally make your different values. But then again, remember, the differences also you can make by using your blender tool, pushing down harder, so you don't have to have all of those pencils. Okay, then when you get to Well, you can keep going on this, can't you? So then we have our shadow, which is the darkest part here, right? And then there's like another area, and then there's another area. See how that fades out? And the reason I'm starting with a pear is that it's, you know, it's a basic shapes, but interestingly enough, when you do faces that are in black and white, you're gonna essentially be doing the exact same exercise. And if you've ever taken a drawing course, you'll know and understand that, and people will say it all the time, and it's 100% true, is that you stop looking at this like a pear, and you start really seeing this just in terms of faded values and shapes, and you squint your eyes and you try to determine where the darkest of darks are and the lightest of lights are, and you start sketching. You might do the outline of this to get started, and we will do that in just a second. Okay, so the first thing you do, because you want to just make sure you have the right size, but honestly after that you are going to go right into your values making and try to get that darks in there, and we're going to blend and see what happens. Okay, and then we'll get to the real nitty-gritty. And look at this. See how this little stem, see how this highlight on the stem here? And I'm going to ignore the background on this piece, but that in the future will become very important too, because see how dark this value is, and it is what makes seeing this stem even possible. Okay, is those different values. Again, you'll stop seeing this as a stem and you'll start looking at it as a rectangle with a value that is equal to or darker or lighter than what is behind it and what is next to it. Okay, I love the super zoom because it really shows you. See, if we started off like that, you wouldn't even know that was a stem. You would just be like, what is that shape, right? And you could go into the background and you could start laying down these values as well. Dark, 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 right? That's my 10B. Here's my 10H right next to each other, faded down that center line with my blender tool. Okay, so you can work right up close. And then at the end, when you're done, you can go, oh, I think that maybe I just made a chair in the background. But do you need to know that that is a chair to draw a chair? 100% no, you do not. And it's the same thing when we get into doing realistic faces, is that it's not so much that you're drawing ears, eyes, a nose, and a mouth. You're simply drawing different shapes in different values. And it really boils down to that. So let's get going on this pear. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is draw its shape, just like I said. Okay. And you know what? If you're like super duper scared to get started, and you might be, I'm going to show you a little cheat to get you started, because I don't want anyone to be scared. Okay, if you're ready to jump in with me, jump in, but I want to go back one more step and just show you something. Okay, if your fear is preventing you from drawing with me right now, I want you to get over it by, you can get some transfer paper, okay? You can buy it in sheets at AC Moore and Michaels and what have you. It's graphite on one side and it is smooth on the other. If you are terrified, maybe you're type A and you are not going to start coloring value until you have that shape perfectly, it is totally acceptable to transfer this onto a piece of paper. So I'm putting the graphite part down first, and I'm just going to trace. And I don't care if this is what you have to do. If this is your first time, I just want you to be able to get some value practice in, because it's more important than anything else, okay? So you could totally do this. It's legal in this class, all right? If you wanted to, you could even, this would be good practice, you could even trace those zones in for yourself, right? We know this is a zone, We need this. This is a practice, like super beginner learning exercise, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with using tools to help you learn. That's totally fine, guys. If you've been drawing for a while, you absolutely won't need to do this, but if you haven't, I encourage you to do whatever makes you feel comfortable. Okay? So as you can see, I have the pear shape on the bottom there, okay? And then we can start at the darkest and blend our way up, okay? If that's too basic for you, and that's fine, okay, the way I would approach this drawing would be we're gonna break this down. I get like an overall pear. Okay, there's a pear here. Oh, there's a organic shape here, and I'm gonna try to recreate that on my own paper, right? So immediately I see like sort of a ball shape here. Okay, that's like a pretty decent, pretty solid circle, right? And then there's this is almost like a triangle. Okay, that comes, I'm going to do it even in dark so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so this is another approach. I'm just laying down my basic shapes. I have a circle and I have a triangle, okay? And it's sitting on a rectangle, right? Okay, so I'm going to come over here. And hopefully you're looking at that pear in front of you. Okay. So I have a triangle. Oh, that's so light. I'll try to, sorry, darken that up for you. I have a triangle, and then I have a circle. And it's okay if your scale is bigger. I tend to draw really large, so it might be bigger than the real one, and that's fine. Okay, so this is another way to do it. We come in here and it's rounded at the top. You can see my triangle. See how this goes outside my triangle? So I'm going to make that go outside my triangle there. Okay. And that is my pear shape. Where's my eraser? Erase the little tippy top. And again, you notice I'm using my trusty yellow pencil. I told you, you do not need to be fancy to be good. Not that I'm good, but you don't need to be fancy, period. Okay. Now I need to find one that's not all written on because I have so many lines on my pear I can hardly see my pear anymore. Okay, so I have my reference next to me. And it looks like this could be a little wider. So then you're going to make your adjustments to your shape. And this could be a face, this could be a wine bottle, this could be, you know, what have you. Oh, I'm so sorry, it's cutting off the bottom. But anyways, I'm shoring up my shape. Okay, so we have our shape more or less there, we outline. Okay, now we want to step away from the outline because we're going to get away. Actually, you know what? Before I say that, I am going to sketch in the shadow because it's pretty deliberate on here. Okay, and maybe we have our back line. Okay. So again, the next thing we want to do is we want to jump right into get some values on here, because that is what is going to turn this into. This is called a contour drawing. When you just are drawing with lines, we want to turn this into legit. So we need to start laying down some graphite. So I'm going to kind of use the side of my pencil. Again, if I go this way, it's going to make really sharp lines. So I'm using a 7B just because I don't even know where my darker ones are. That's dark enough. And I'm going to start laying down. Now if you notice, see I left this little area white right here because I noticed on my pear that it gets a little bit lighter right in there. Look at your drawing and see if you can see that. So I'm literally looking right at my reference. Whoops. I'm looking right exactly next to what I'm doing. And I'm, again, laying down where those darks are on my cardstock paper. Okay. So now we have two choices, right? Because we know that we want to go lighter as we go over to the right. So we can either use our pencil to scrub in some lighter, or we can mush it. And guess what? There's this art and there is no rules. So we can do whatever you want. So the choice is really yours. I think just for fun, I'm gonna see what happens if I try to use my smudger. Okay, first I wanna pick up graphite on my stump here. So smushing it around does two things. One, it makes it look solid and it gets rid of my individual lines. And number two, it's loading up my blender. Okay? So that when I start smooching it, because I want lots and lots and lots on my blender stick. So when I start moving it over, it's gonna carry it with me. Okay, is it working? It is working. So I'm gonna move it over to here. Oops. Okay, so we're gonna, let's see, if we go back to our pear, I notice there's a pretty distinct line here, right? Where that ends, which you can see if you're going back to, if you're using this one, I'll back up a second, right? You're gonna end up doing your darkest shading in this first area we identified. And it's cool, you don't need to be exact because we're gonna blend. We don't want those, you know, lines to show up anyways. Okay. Goes around here. I'm holding the pencil really weird. And then up here, see, so I'm using those. And then when I blend, I already have my sort of guideline there. Now you gotta be careful, you really do want that to be not show. So if that becomes too hard, maybe erase it first. So you know that it's gonna go away. But you're gonna smudge out to that thin line. And on here, we're just gonna eyeball it. And right. And hopefully you're following along with me. Okay. If you never need a place darker, just go back in, push down. It does sort of thin out your layer. So if you need to go and add a little more, you can do that. It's your drawing. Okay, you can blend it out. Okay. Okay. So then I'm noticing my pear has like a little bit of like a darker area. If you have to really look at these and stare and say, where what is white, right? What is not white? Well, if it's not way up here at a 10H, is it at a 9? Is it at 8? Is it 7? Where is this? And I don't mean pencil necessarily, because you know that you can use one pencil to create these. But where on that scale is that? And make yourself a scale just like I did with your pencils, whether you have 3 or 5 or the whole kit and caboodle. Make that scale for yourself, because that will be your guide. Okay? Now our stem is super duper duper dark, right? Except we have that lightness around it. All right, now you may be thinking like, oh, well, I have this like this outline here, and you're right, we do. So we need to go and bring that together. Now this is interesting. There is this, do you guys see this? There is like a highlight right here. And how do you see that highlight? You see it because the background is darker than it, and this holds true on either side right here. So to simplify things, so we're not here all day, although I could be here all day, I'll show you a trick. I'm going to take my charcoal and I'm going to use my background to define this guy. Okay. Do you see how instantly the background is, the relative value is what is making the shape of that pear? I'm going to pretend the background is a solid black color. Okay. You can use your pencil, and then when you start painting, this is how you're going to deal with your paint to do the same thing. Okay. But we're going to do it with our drawing effect here. Okay, this area around your pear is also called your negative space, and it's just as important as your subject itself. It defines what your subject is. Okay, we're going to go around the other side. Now I took this picture with a fake pear in my dining area with my phone, and then I just uploaded it to Instagram because I wanted to play around with some filters to make it, see if I could exaggerate the shadows, and I did. I think it was Hudson maybe, but you could do that on your regular phone. Okay, now how is that for value? Okay, what's cool about this exercise too is that this shadow only exists because the color next to it is the opposite color. That's what I love about working in black and whites. It just gives you exact message about about your scale, okay, and your shadows. So let's see here. I was using my 7B before. I'll use it again. Now if you notice, for this area right here, there's almost no line right here. It's on the exact value, okay? It's a darker underneath the pear where it's sitting, and then out here as it gets farther away. So the same thing, if it doesn't matter what you're drawing, nailing down these values and getting them the right grayscale is what is going to make your drawing going to be readable and convincing and realistic. Okay, so let's see. I'm actually going to go in with my graphite and under the pear's bottom, because that is like the blackest of the black part. Okay, and I'm just, again, I'm looking here and I'm just trying to draw what I see. Can't believe I'm filming. My kids are actually all home right now. Miraculously, they're leaving me alone. Can't believe no one is interrupting me. I guess I did feed everyone before I pressed record. That's probably the biggest thing. When you have 3 boys, you just keep food available at all times and you're good to go. Okay, so again, if I look at my reference, it is this shape, but then it also fades out again, doesn't it? So I'm gonna grab my blender tool, and I really want to get rid of that line because there isn't really a line there. It fades off into the distance, and again I need to pick up some graphite, and then I'm gonna mush. Use your finger. Okay, and then what ends up happening when you're working with charcoal and with graphite is that you end up losing some highlights because you're mushing so much and this stuff is flying around everywhere. So oftentimes what you need to do is you go back and you get your highlights by erasing the area out which you lost. Okay, so for example, the top of the pear, I actually lost the highlight, but I put it back in by making a really dark negative space around it. Okay, and let's see, this is like a little... I'm using my finger to take some of this charcoal and actually use it to accentuate, accentuate some of my darkest regions here. So I'm picking it up with my finger and I'm gonna go in and make these dark spaces really dark. Okay, I'm just looking at my reference, looking at my paper, looking at my reference, looking at my paper. And here's a little darker, and here's a little darker up here. Okay, and then it kind of runs down the center here. And then it's kind of light in the middle. Okay, if some of your edges get a little muddied, you can go with an eraser, okay, and find them again. The gum eraser the kneaded eraser works the best on charcoal. Okay, and I'm really gonna blacken up my shadow here. Okay, so I tried my best to pick up this highlight right here, and again I can mush the background around it. It's all relative, right? What's next to what? I just use my finger, so I have to excavate that out again. Okay, so you get that highlight. This is a very hard line, so you're going to pay attention to your edges, what is kind of soft and what is hard. Okay, this is a hard line between the pear and the background. That is a hard line. This could be sharper, this line right here. I'm not supposed to blow your chalk, but whatever. Okay. Now this is still like I can see my line, so I need to kind of fade that out of it. You shouldn't see any lines. You should just see shades of gray and black. Okay? It's all relative. So you need to decide, whatever you're drawing, what part is on what part of your scale. before you know it, you have your pear. Okay, so there you have your another version of the pear. All right, you have to bear with me in my like crazy camera skills. I'm going to take you on a little tour of my studio because I wanted to show you. Well, it's okay. I didn't clean up for you guys. I apologize, but I was going to show you over here a dude that I have drawn, and this is all charcoal, but just see how it's the pear all over again, but on a different scale, right? And just because he's a person, it doesn't matter that he's a person. It just matters that when I was copying this image, and I don't have it anymore, that I was paying such close attention to every part and the ins and outs of just the values. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. This was the first, yes, it's on my floor. This was the first one I had ever done. And you can see, look, it's just like the outline of the pear, right? It's the opposite, where the background is dark, which creates the lightness on the neck here. And then this is in the reverse over here, so it's very dark. And then this has to be a slightly different tone, or else you couldn't read that very well. Okay, and see the shading we were talking about on our whimsical face when the light source was straight on? Well, in this picture, the light source is coming from the left, and the light source, oh, she looks crazy-eyed for me right now. It's so funny. She doesn't in person, but she doesn't in this photograph. So the reason that the light source is so important is that that is shifting all your shadows around. Okay, so the light source is responsible for what your values are going to be. And once you've picked a light source, you stick with it, because as soon as you change it, you're going to mess up your whole drawing. Okay, so here's the same thing. Light source is from the left, casting shadows on the right. Okay, so, and I can see right here, this is like badly blended. It looks different in person than it does. It's so interesting. And it does on film. Okay. There's a gigantic one. Excuse, her nose is way too long. Okay, but again, see all these subtle variations, and here the light source is coming from the right, and the shadow is coming onto the left bridge of her nose. Okay, but all of this is just charcoal, and it's just going piece by piece by piece by piece on her face to pick up what is the dark and what is the light. Same thing. It doesn't matter if you do 150 of these or if you do 150 pears or apples or what have you. What you're looking at is the shading and where it is on her face. See her eyes? See how dark those are? And see how dark those are. Okay, so it's everything is relative, and it's just literally paying attention to the, you know, this to this, well, that line is way too dark, this to this, right? How does each section of her face compare to every other section, and just making the gradual differences in each. You guys want to see my studio while we're here? Look at this craziness. It's crazy. My little detour. Welcome to my brain. This is how crazy it is in there. My table is like a hot mess. So it's such a mess. I like this lady. I painted her once when I was really mad at my kids and I wanted to kill them, and so I painted that so that I would be distracted and not want to murder them anymore. And in my closet, it's crazy. And there's my dude again. So anyways, that is my precursor to watching a demo. I think I'm going to show you this guy because I talk a lot about the differences between doing a male face and a female face. And it turns out, well, you watch the video and see what I have to say. All right, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye. I hope you enjoyed that free tutorial. If you are interested in learning more about my courses, just go to awesomeartschool.com and you can go there for yourself and check them out. Thanks, guys. Oh my God, I almost forgot to mention, if you don't feel like signing up for courses, that's fine too, because I have 300 plus free tutorials on YouTube. So you can go search YouTube, Karen Campbell Artist, and you will find me in my tutorials there. Also, you can check me out and follow me on Instagram at Karen Campbell Artist, and you will also have, I always put the link to my latest YouTube tutorial in my bio, and that way you can always keep up to date on which my latest tutorial is. But subscribing to YouTube is probably the easiest way that you can do that. So, enjoy!